times. Hopefully you must have got the last concept. Okay, so yesterday we started with object-oriented programming. We already have created few classes. We already have seen how the code gets transformed and how the actual class gets its shape. So probably this is a little bit different than the other languages. So as I requested earlier, do not compare Python or OOP with others or other languages like C++ or Java. They are completely different. So let's continue with the same point, object-oriented programming. Let's see how we can move ahead, how we can see the other points as well. So let's start with this then. So this is again, as usual, page 1. I'm going to start with a very simple requirement where we have to create a class, and the class will have very simple data members. So hopefully you already have seen yesterday the method, something called as a constructor. In other languages, in Python, it is called as an initializer. So initializer is the one which is going to initialize your class members. Okay, so let us see how to do that. So I'm going to start with class. Maybe we can start a class for anything. So for example, this time I'm going to create a class for car. Now I know that this is a class which is going to have the data members like say car class having members. So this is what I'm already have decided. So car class having members, one model. Let's say the other one is the company and the other one is the price. So this is what I want to add in my class. So basically I'm thinking of adding those data members and having members like this data members and having methods. Let's say like print info, for example, and is affordable, for example, one more class, one more method, something like this. And probably if you want, you can add some other methods as well. So now I'll start with a very simple requirement again. This is a car class where I want to add the default members, model, company, and price. So how do you do this then? To do this, probably we'll have to start with the initializer method. I hope you can recall. Yesterday we talked about this. We said that this is an initializer method, and the initializer method is the one which is going to get called automatically. So you do whatever you want to do, but initializer will automatically get called for every object you are going to create out of that class. So probably if you are creating 100 objects, for every single object, the initializer method will get called. In this method, I want to add required attributes. So probably I'm going to come back here and I'll say self dot model, which is equals to blank. There is no model there. Maybe self dot company, which is equals to, again, there is nothing inside this. And self dot price, which is again, there is nothing inside it. So maybe I'll say 0. So probably I have three different variables, three different attributes, and those attributes maybe are having different data types as well. So company and model, both of them are string. Price is nothing but an integer, at least for now. Okay, so this is initializer method. Now the next one is the print info, and the other one is affordable. So print info is as simple as this. Maybe all you want to say here is just print all the default members or all the values of those data members. So probably here I want to start with, again, this is the model. So to get the model, we have to say self.model. To get the company, probably we'll have to say self.company. And finally, to get the price, maybe we want to say price, which is equals to, let's say INR, whatever it is. And then I can say self.price. That's it. So this is the way we are going to start getting adding the members and getting their values and printing them on the console. As simple as this. Now we wanted to add one more method that is affordable. So probably I'll say is affordable, and in this is affordable. So probably I want to, yes, Adesh, I think I forgot to do that. Sorry, my bad. Yep. Sorry. I thought maybe I already started, but it seems like I forgot that. Okay, so here is affordable, and probably I want to continue with checking if the car is affordable or not. So how do we do this? Maybe I'm thinking about a formula. The formula is like if the car price is less than 10 lakhs, for example. So it is affordable, and if it is above 10 lakhs, which is not affordable. So as simple as that. If self.price, which is greater than 10, then we will say, no, it's not affordable. So probably I'll say this car is nothing but, let's say this model is not affordable. and yes other words. So else if I want to check if it is affordable, then we can say self.model, self.model is affordable, as simple as that. So this is a class which is having three members: model, company, and price, and probably two other methods. So hopefully if you can recall yesterday's description, we already have said that there are two types of functions. One is called as a global function or naked function, and the other one is called as a OOP method or OOP function, which also called as a method. Now in that method, probably I mentioned that there are five types of methods, or there are five types of different class members or class methods you can add. Out of them, we already have seen something called as initializer. So initializer is the one which is going to initialize your object, initialize your members of that object. There is another type of method which we already have added here. So I'm going to call this as a utility function, or it's also called as facilitator. This is also called as a utility function. Utility in a sense, it provides a kind of utility, or it provides a kind of facility. It provides a facility of printing entire object. At the same time, this also is providing a kind of checking whether the car is affordable. So this is a facilitator, or you can also call it as an utility. I think I'm done with my first version, the basic version, which is having three members, maybe model, company, and price. And it is having two utility methods like print info and is affordable, and one initializer, which is having maybe a kind of facility to initialize your objects. Okay, so let us come back here. Let us create a car one, which is going to be a car class object, and then we can set all the members here. So probably you don't have to set the members right now, because we already have said that there is an initializer method, and initializer is going to get called for every single object. So for this object, maybe Python must have called the initializer method there. And if it already has called the initializer method, it must have added model, company, and price. If it is the case, probably I can directly call that print info and check if the car is affordable or not. So probably I can check both of these things. If you can recall, yesterday we could not do that because we were having a problem of adding those attributes. So we decided to go with the initializer. It solved our problem, and that's the reason why to start with today I added the initializer method. So when I start my application, when I run my code, it seems like I do not have any data there. So it says model empty, company empty, and price is equals to 0. And probably this is certainly wrong, because the car is not examined. The car does not exist. The car is not having any good properties there. So maybe it is saying affordable because the price is 0, which is less than 10. So that's the reason why it is saying affordable. But I think we already have created an object. That object, though, is not having a valid data, but still object exists. Inside that object, there are three attributes: model, company, and price, and those are initialized with the default values. Now, what I was thinking here is, instead of having the blank data, it makes sense to add some kind of valid data. Let's say I want to initialize this car to represent maybe another model, let's say i20. So how do we do this? To do this, probably I can say this is car1 dot something like a model, which is equals to i20, for example. Same thing, car1 dot company, which is something like a Hyundai, and again car1 dot price, let's say 7.5. Now you see here we are creating an object. Let me put some kind of phases while creating or while using that object. So this phase is a kind of creation. So we have created it. This is a kind of maybe initialization. So initialization. And finally, this is where we are consuming that project, consuming that object. Consuming, in a sense, we are using that object and calling different methods on it, depending on our requirement. So my requirement was to print all the details of that car, and at the same time, I want to check whether the car is affordable or not. So this is what we are doing here. So probably, as you see here, we are having creation, initialization, and consumption. So these are three different phases here. So probably here we are simply calling the methods, and now hopefully I'll get some better data or better output. Yeah, I can see that. So this is the data for car, and probably I can see car is affordable. So that makes total sense. But now I'm thinking about something else. So probably I'm saying like, see here, when I say creation, it automatically is calling that initializer method. And I know that just initializing it with model, company, and price with the default value doesn't make any sense. I hope you agree with me. A car having no model having no company and having no price makes no sense at all. If it doesn't make sense, then I think it's better idea to initialize it every single time. But to initialize it every single time, I'll have to literally write 3 lines of code, provided that you are having 3 attributes. Imagine a class having, let's say, 15-20 attributes, in which case you will have to write those 15-20 lines every single time you want to initialize that object or you want to use that object. So isn't there any shortcut? Can we not combine the initialization of this with creation of it? The answer is yes. So what I'm trying to say here is, like, when you are in Python, then probably you can decide to go with initialization separately like this, or you may integrate this, or you may combine the initialization with the init method itself. So what I mean by this is, let me go to the second program. I'll keep this for your reference and I'll go back to the second page saying page2.py, and right here I'm simply going to copy the same class because this time I want to use the same class. I just want to refactor it. So what I said last time is, like, instead of hard coding the values of model company price to default, like blank, blank, 0, I want to get those values from my object creator. So probably I want to create an object like this. Say this is car 1, or maybe I'll say this is I-20, which is equals to a car. And at the same time, I mean, when the object gets created, the object gets initialized with the default values. So at the same time, I know the object is going to have, or this car is going to have, model is I-20, company is Hyundai, and price is something like 7.5. I know this. If it is the case, then I want to initialize that car object with the valid values instead of initializing it with maybe a default values like this. So probably what I'm thinking here is, like, it's good idea to write an initializer method with maybe the with the required properties or required values. So probably what I'm saying here is, yes, do it in this way, or probably I'll just show you here def __ init, because this is the method which we have started last time, and now we are thinking about why not to add a model, let's say company, and probably the next one what I was thinking about is price. So what I'm trying to say here is, we are having an initializer method which is going to accept the parameters like model, company, and price. So probably I'll say self.model is equals to model. Makes sense because now we are getting the object, or sorry, getting the model value, which is going to get passed at the time of creation, and we'll put that inside our model, which is an attribute here. Same thing, I'm going to say self.company, which is equals to company, and self.price, which is equals to price. Okay. So now we are having an initializer with no parameters, and there is an initializer with a parameter. See what happens now. I'm trying to create an object. Let's say I-20 is equals to car black blah. So now it seems like it should have called this method initializer, because it's not accepting any parameter, and it should have accepted let's say model, company, and price with the default value. But see, it's giving me an issue. It's giving me an error. It says, hey, initializer accepts 3 parameters, model, company, and price, and none are provided. I mean, you see here, line number 31 is where we are saying I-20 is equals to car, and car is having no parameter in it. I was assuming that if I want to create a car, I could call this method and get the model, price, and company initialized with the default values. But it seems like it is not working like this, because in Python, when you are adding a class, you cannot have multiple methods. Watch this and try to understand this. You cannot have multiple methods with the same name. You see, this is init method, or this is init method. Both of them are having exact same name, and this is not acceptable in Python. I know if you are coming from other languages like C++ or Java, in those languages it accepts it, but in this case it does not accept the having a method having multiple methods with the same name. By the way, when you are in object-oriented programming, the functionality is called as overloading. So basically, you cannot overload a function in Python. In a sense, you cannot have multiple methods with the same name. If you do it, then the previous method will be not considered. I mean, it will be discarded, and only the next one will be considered. So probably, even though you are having 2 different versions, and one is having no parameter and the other is having 3 parameters, still when you are calling that, when you are using that object, or when you are using that initializer method, still you see it is forcing you to pass model, company and price, which means this method is not at all considered. And that makes sense. That makes total sense. The reason behind this is probably you can understand every method is by default going to get converted into a variable. So it's like this. Probably you can answer this question very quickly. You see, you are having a variable, let's say 100. And if I say something like num is equals to 200, can you tell me what is the last value of num? Will it be a kind of 100 or will it be a kind of 200? What will be the value of num in this context? Naturally 200, isn't it? Why it is 200? It is 200 because line number 34 is where it got created and number 35 is where it got, rather it has changed its value or it has overwritten its value. The same thing happens with the functions as well. So imagine, again, you have to visualize this from the diagram I talked about earlier. When you see a method, the method is going to have a reference and method is going to have its other object. So imagine that you are already having a initializer or underscore underscore init method as a kind of a variable, which is storing some data at this particular memory location. For example, same thing is going to happen again. So probably you are going to say, see, I've got another method with the same name and it has loaded maybe on this particular memory location. Naturally, you see here, this was initialized with this particular memory address and this is initialized with this particular memory address. Naturally, the name is same, so the previous will get overwritten, and because it is going to get overwritten, you see that it is not at all considering the previous method here. If it is not considering previous method, what's the point of having it then? So I can delete it. It's of no use. Guys, can you please confirm whether have you understood this or not? In object-oriented programming, the functionality where you can have multiple methods with the same name is generally known as function overloading, which is not at all possible in Java, in Python. It's just because when you are talking about a function, the function is going to have a variable behind it, and you are setting variables value one more time, which means the previous value will be considered, which will not be considered, and the only last value will be considered, like this one. So finally, I can have a kind of only one method. Either it can be an empty method, not empty method, but either it could be a parameterless method or it could be a parameterized method. In which case, I can say the previous method, which was not accepting any parameter at the time of creating it, now is gone. It's gone because we have added another version of it. Init, self, model, company, and price. Meaning, whenever I want to initialize my object, I have to pass this model, company, and price without fail. Utpal, first method should be overwritten by the second method. Absolutely right. So that is why I said that there is no overloading possible in Python. Mostly speaking, this is again a kind of a rule you can remember. Those languages where the data type is getting assigned automatically or data type is kind of set dynamically by looking at the value of that parameter, generally those languages do not support function overloading, because to have a function overloading, you should have the data types in the first place. Data types in a sense, static data type or explicit data type in the first place. When you are in Python, when you are in JavaScript, for example, there you cannot achieve this. It's just because you are getting the data types dynamically assigned. And whenever there is a dynamic data type, there is no way for language to distinguish the difference between two methods. So that's the reason why it is not possible to have a function overload. Anyways, long story short, you cannot have multiple methods with the same name. And that's a reason I've deleted the previous one. I just kept only one, and that is this one. That is the final one. Okay, that simply tells me now that I cannot just call this function. I mean, I'm thinking about this as a function because ultimately when I say car parenthesis, it ultimately is going to call your initializer method here. So if it is an initializer method which is getting called internally, you see here, by default, in this case, I'm not passing any parameter. So this time I can't deal with it because now my initializer method is accepting model, company, and price. So if it is the case, probably I'll have to pass those three parameters here. Otherwise, if I say run, otherwise your application is going to crash and it is going to say like, hey, I need that model, company, and price. So unless you provide these three details, object will not get constructed. So probably I can consider here the model. Model is, let's say, i20, for example. Company, let's say Hyundai, for example. And the price is, let's say, 7.5. So this is the way I'm going to say my car object gets constructed. Digvijay, so Python cannot be considered as a pure OOP language. For now, yes, you can. There are different use cases when you consider a pure or not pure object-oriented programming language. But yes, you can say that Python is not really a pure OOP language, because you can write some scripting part into Python as well. It's not like Java, where you cannot write a scripting Java. You have to have OOP in the first place in order to use Java. So probably this is not the case. Okay, this is like C++, where you can have the scripting part of it, or POP part of it, and then OP part of it. OP is just a kind of flexibility, or you can say it's a luxury. So if you really want to use those features, you can. But if you don't want to use this feature, that's fine. You can simply use a Python without using OP as well. Okay, so that's how it is. Okay, now I have this I20 object. I can come back here and say I20.printinfo, and at the same time I can say I20.can, sorry, not can, I think is affordable. Yes. So when I say run, you see, now it is making total sense. Whenever I'm creating an object, at that time I'm specifying this car is going to have the data like I20, Hyundai, and 7.5. Not like last time. When I was creating an object last time, I was having no data at all. So in that case, if I would have not initialized this, I would have gotten the default values like blank, blank, and 0. That would making no sense at all. And that's the reason why we combined this initialization with this init method, and that's how the new init method has born. So this is the one which is going to have the model, company, and price. In short, this is the method which is going to initialize your object. This method is going to say, hey, when you are initializing your object, when you are creating your object, probably you need to pass model, company, and price, and that makes total sense. So think about it again. Whenever you are writing a class, most of the times people generally add initializer method in this way. Now there are a few disadvantages as well. I mean, let's assume, okay, I'm saying I20 is done. Let me comment this, and let's create one more. Let's say I want to create an X5 object. So X5 is equals to, again, a car, which is X5, for example. Company is BMW, for example. But I don't know the price of this car. So if I don't have the price of this car, I don't want to mention it. Let's see what happens. So I'll again say this is x5.printinfo, and probably when I say run, oh, it is again crashing. It says you are missing one parameter named price. That simply means now passing model, company, and price, all of them is mandatory. Now, what if I don't have the price? What if the price will come later? Maybe imagine a scenario that you are creating an object, but at the time of creating an object, you are having only basic information of it. Maybe because of lockdown and because of some other reasons, BMW has not disclosed their new price. So in that case, I don't know the current price, or I don't know the price which is going to get modified after lockdown is over. So in which case, I don't want to set the price. But now you can't do it. You can't do it because you see here, price parameter is mandatory. I hope you got the point here. So probably, why don't you simply go back and set it 0? Fine, I am okay with it. So maybe when I say 0, it works. It really works. But don't you see that? I mean, if I don't have the price, then why am I setting it? I mean, let's set some default value there, right? So in which case, if I know that model and company is mandatory parameter, while price can be an optional parameter, I can take advantage of the other facility we already have talked about earlier. When you are in Python, you can always specify the default values to the parameters. So probably I can say is equals to 0, which means now if I do not pass that price parameter here, by default, it will be considered as 0. See, now I think I solved that problem not by passing that 0 every single time, but by using another feature called as default values or optional parameters. So now when I say price equals to 0, price has got the default value, and because price has got the default value, it already has become optional. And that's a reason why am I not specifying it right here. Earlier it was mandatory, I had to pass that, but now it's not mandatory because I set the default parameters, I set the default value for that parameter. And now I can say, hey, I just need only, I just know only do two things, the model and the company. That's it. I don't know the price about it. That's it. It's very simple to understand. All we are saying here is we are setting the default value of that price. So this is how we can do it. Okay. Okay, so probably Adish was saying, is it not necessary to mention the members before initializer after the class created? I think we already have done that here, isn't it? And we already have set the default value as well, right? Shubham, your question, can we use the initializer list? That's what we are doing here. That's what initializer list is, in fact. Okay. Girish, your question, default parameters, yes, absolutely. Ketan, absolutely right. Vipul, your question, can we take input from user in init by asking user? Of course, yes, but it's not a good idea to do it here. I mean, let it initialize with default values, and later you can get the values from user, and you know how to do it. I mean, it all depends on you. So basically, if you don't want to pass the parameters like X5 and BMW here, you can ask user to set the model and the company price. For example, I can say print, maybe I can say enter model. So probably user is going to enter a model, which I'm going to specify, or I'm going to get this inside a variable called as input. Okay. I'll do one thing. I'll just put this here as it is X5, and then we'll get the user's input for model and company and price. So this is the company and this is the price. Sorry, it's already there. I can just use it. I'm sorry, company, and this is the price. Okay, so there it is. Now when you say price, please remember that this is a kind of a number. It's not a kind of a string. So probably I'm going to convert this into an integer value. So this is the way we can convert that into integer. And then now we have three values: model, company, and price. Now I can just create a new object. Let's say car is equals to car, and then I can pass model, that is model, company, that is company, and price, that is price, whatever user is going to supply there. And then we can say car dot print info, and we can check if the car dot is affordable. So we'll check that like this way. Okay, so probably when I say run, you see that this is X5 which we have created explicitly, but now it is waiting for me to input the value for model. Maybe I'll say the biggest car, nano, I'm sorry, not neo, it's nano, it's okay. Company is Tata, and the price is, let's say, 2.5. And probably, oh, I got a problem. I think I shouldn't have converted into integer. I should have converted into float, because I know the price may come with the decimal values as well. Okay, let's fix this. Nano, Tata, and 2.5. And yes, I got the Nano's details. You see, the model is Nano, the company is Tata, and the price is INR 2.5. What 2.5? I think 2.5 lakhs. So whatever, L. So now I can see that it's a 0L, fine. I'll just go for one more, maybe something like Innova, maybe Toyota, and price is, let's say, whatever, 19 lakhs, whatever, who cares. So this is the data I think I'm getting from user, and probably I'm checking the other functionalities, and it's working really fine. Okay, so this is the way we can do it. Okay, Ketan, is there any specific reason that Python decided to take input as a string? No, you go to any language, and this happens everywhere. See, whenever you are taking input from user, I don't know whether you can see this, but this is a console, and what a user enters is considered as a character, and bunch of characters are called as a string. So basically, whatever user is going to enter is a character, and if user enters multiple characters combining together, it becomes one string. So that is the reason by default, whatever user is going to enter will be considered as a string. Not only here, Ketan, in other languages also it happens the same thing. Few languages may give you by default the conversion from the provided method or the default methods. Here, it by default gives you a string, and it allows you, or it gives you flexibility to convert it in any form. Maybe it can be integer, it can be decimal, can be anything. Okay. Praneeth, your question, here we are setting the price as a default parameter, but anyone who uses my car class set the other parameters to the default value. In this case, how can you ensure that the car class is unchanged? Exactly what you are thinking about is my next point. Okay, just wait for a minute, Praneeth, and you will get the answer. Yes, Girish, but out of the context, Python supports a dependency injection. Yes, it supports, and this is something which we are going to see almost in the next week. So there we'll see different packages, and we will see one of the use cases of dependency injection. Okay, Utpal, by default, Python should decide the data types. Why are they changing to a float? Where? Utpal, can you just point me the line number where you are referring to? Price here. Where is it? We are considering this, it's as a float, right? We converted this as a float. See here, we have converted that price from string to float. Yes, it's not it should have decided. It is kind of by default input is going to give you a string, and that's the reason. If I do not consider this, then by default this will be considered as a string. If you're okay with the string, you can just come back here and use this one. But if I say string, I will not be able to compare it. You remember we have a function called, sorry, we have a method called as is affordable, and when I say is affordable, we are checking that price against a number. So if you are checking the price against a number, you cannot deal with a string. See, for example, let's use the nano again. Let's say the company is Tata and say 2.5. 2.5 here is not a data type. Sorry, it's not a float data type. It's a kind of a string data type. And you see that it is going to give you an error saying, hey, you cannot compare string and integer. String and integer, because I did not convert this into a float or integer. So by default, it is considering it as a string. Because it is a string, you cannot compare a string with an integer. That's why it is complaining. I think Utpal, you got the point, right? Very good. That's the reason why I was converting it back to a float value, because I knew that this is going to be a float and this is going to be a number, and this number I want to compare it with 10. That's the reason we have done that. Okay. Okay, so now hopefully you can see where we are going towards. So probably we have the second version of the class where we are having initializer with parameters. We are having a couple of utility or facilitator methods, and probably things are looking good. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to literally get this car class object, car class definition, and we'll put it into the next page. I don't want to write the same class again and again. It's better we can just copy paste it. Once we know all the concepts, we'll change the class and we'll play with some other classes as well. Okay, I'm just telling you like what are the different versions we can start with, and what are the different facilities we can keep on adding to the existing version. This is my third version. Now again, I'm going to create a simple object here. Let's say this time I'm going to create i20, i10 for example, which is equals to a car. The model is i10, like what I said last time. Next is the company is Hyundai. And the price is, let's say 5.5, who cares? Let's print that data, say print info, and let's say i10 dot is affordable. So probably I want to check whether the data is valid and whether I can afford this car. Yeah, it seems like it is affordable. Everything is looking good, but now there is a small problem. See and understand this. If you're writing the code, keep it aside. First understand the problem and then see the solution, what Python provides. And again, my humble request, do not compare this with other languages, okay? Otherwise thing will get complicated, okay? So now when you see I have an i10 object, I already have initialized with the valid data, like whatever I wanted to initialize it with, maybe i10, Hyundai 5.5, things were looking good. I was getting the output, I was getting all the data about that car, I was able to see whether I could afford it or not, everything was looking good. But all of a sudden, I decided to go here and try to change a parameter and say, give me the price, or maybe let me change the price to something like, let's say something like 5.6, or maybe something like, say 50.6, whatever it is, or 50.5. See, I'm able to change the price without getting the concern, in the sense, maybe I am able to change the price without asking that i10 whether it is your valid price or not. So I can do it, and that affordable car is now become not affordable. It's just because, you know, earlier it was 5.5 and all of a sudden I changed the price 50.5, and yes, it simply has said this in a completely different way. So earlier it was saying, yeah, you could afford it, but now it is saying you cannot afford it. You cannot afford it simply because now the price is changed. I think it's okay to say the price is changed. It's still, I can, you know, just deal with it. But what if I go back here and say something like price is equals to, let's say 5.5 in this case. Check this out. Earlier, I considered that price as 5.5. 5.5 means it was something like a float. For example, by default, it will consider this as a float. But when I change that price to 5.5, I hope you can understand that will be considered as a string. And if it is a string, you see it has considered it as a wrong data type. And that's the reason my application started crashing. So my application literally started crashing, and it says that, hey, you can't do it. You can't do it just because the price is not in a valid data type. So it should be in a data type of integer or float in order to compare it with another integer. So this is not at all working fine. So basically what I'm trying to show you here is like when you expose your data members, something like price, something like model, let me say something like I10 dot model, and I can literally say invalid data, or I can say I10 dot company is equals to invalid company, something like this, invalid company, in which case you see when I run my code, this is literally crashing because I mentioned this in a string. Let me not do it. So I can see that even after initializing it with proper data, I still am getting now the invalid data. What do you mean by this here is like when you are talking about exposing your data members, exposing your price, model and company, in which case you are trying to say you can modify it externally. Once the object is created, you can still go back and you can still modify the price, company and model. So it is kind of risky. It's kind of risky because there is no checking. Anyone can come and anyone can modify any value like this, and maybe it will corrupt your application. It will damage your application. It will damage your logic as well. So probably when you are trying to do something like this, you want to just add some security here. Now, how do you add a security then? To add a security, what I'm thinking here is I will not allow user to change the price, model and company explicitly or externally like this. So what I want to do here is I want to kind of provide the security by making them non-exposable. Non-exposable in a sense, I don't want anyone to directly deal with my data. For me, data is very important. I told you that earlier as well. In today's world, the most important thing you are having is your data. So if your data is confidential, you are kind of secure. But the moment your data is out, you are literally screwed. I don't want that to happen with my object. So for me, price, model, company, which is nothing but the data I'm adding into that object, is very important, and I want to secure it. Right now it is exposed. Right now it is kind of a public, and that's the reason why anyone can modify it. But now I want to make it secure. So how do I do this? Now, when you are in Python, this is a little bit, little bit different. Don't compare it with other languages, okay? So when you are in Python, you have kind of conventions to follow. In other languages, there are just compulsions, or there are kind of keywords they provide. But when you are in Python, there are conventions to follow. Watch this and try to understand this. When you are talking about something like a model, company and price, watch this again. Before I modify the values, let me do this quickly. This is something I talked about earlier as well. I want to see I10 dot underscore underscore dict underscore underscore. Hopefully you can understand this is a kind of dictionary representation of my object, and it shows me there is a property named model. I10 is the value, the property named company, Hyundai is the value, property named price, and 5.5 is the value. Everything is looking good. Now I'm going to come back here, and probably this time I'm trying to change it, and you see that it already has changed it, So now I want to continue further, and let's not use it this way because otherwise your application will crash, So at least I want my application to work, but I know this is the invalid data. That's fine. It is happening right now because anyone can modify my data externally. After creating an object, anyone can modify the data. So what I want to do here is I want to protect my members. How do I protect my members? To protect your members, when you are adding them into your object, listen to me very, very, very carefully. When you are adding your members like model, company and price into your object, and if you are not specifying any kind of underscores there, then these are considered as the public members. This is generally called as an access specifier. So in case of other languages like C++, Java and others, there are few keywords: private, protected and public. Here we don't have any kind of keywords, and this makes the Python little bit simpler to use. Anyone can understand that, provided you know what you are doing. So I know that earlier I was saying model, company, and price, and that's the reason they were considered as a public members. So what do you mean by public member? A public member is the member, or public member is the kind of a property or an attribute. I'm saying members, that means it can includes both. It includes the attribute as well as the method. So public member is the member which is having member having name, name without any underscore. Let me write it like this one. So without having any underscore, if you're writing any member, this is considered as a public member. For example, in our case, self.model, we are not having any underscore. That's the reason why it is considered as a public. Self.company, which is considered as a public. Self.price, which is considered as a public member. Now, when I say public, what do you mean by public here? Public means it can be accessed outside of this class. So whenever you are having a public member, that can be accessed outside of this class, and that's the reason, you see, anyone can come here and modify the data, and still the data is getting modified, and sometimes it literally gets screwed, So I want to protect this. So how do I protect that? To protect it, I want to change its access from public to private. So now I want to consider something called as a private members. So how do you convert a private member, or how do you write a private member? In Python, it's very simple. A private member is a member. Let me mention this here. Member having name with double underscores. Double underscores. So whenever you are having double underscores, this is considered as a private member. I'm telling you one more thing. Don't compare it with other languages. So here, when you say private member, it can be accessed only within the same class, or in other words, cannot be accessed outside of the class, outside of the class where it is declared. So probably I'll simply say outside of this class. So for example, earlier I was using model, company, and price without having any underscore. By default, they were considered as public members. Now, if I just come back here and say, hey, I want to make them private, very simple. All we have to say here is self __ model will become a private member. Self __ company will become a private member. Self __ price will become a private member. In Python, there are no keywords, and because there are no keywords, here you can say all these members having double underscores, they are considered as a kind of a private members. So as simple as this. No underscore, it's public. Double underscore, it's private. As simple as that. See what happens now. Pay attention. Instead of adding model, company, and price, now I'm going to say __ model, __ company, __ price. Naturally, when I say __ here, while getting the values, also we'll have to say __ model, __ company, and __ price. Same thing, when I want to use that price member here in my is affordable function, is affordable method, you can use this one, again, __ and you are done. Okay. First, before I set the data externally, I want to see if everything is going good. You see that everything is going good. I'm getting my value like i20 Hyundai 5.5, and yeah, it is affordable. Everything is working fine. Okay. Now I'll change the data here. I'll say price is equals to this, model is equals to this, company is equals to this. You see, when we are talking about maybe making them private, my only intention behind making them private is to allow them to, not allow them to access outside the class. And when I say not allow them to access outside the class, that means I don't want anyone to modify the data on a class member. If it is the case, I can simply come back here and just try to execute this program and see what happens. Okay, see what happens. I'm running this code here, and do you see something? Even after I modified the data, even after I said price is equals to 10.3, It's a different story that I did not get any error like other languages, but I'm okay with it. See, I'm not able to modify my existing data. You see, you are saying like price is equals to 10.3, model is equals to invalid data, and company is equals to invalid company. But still, when I say print info, I'm getting my original I-10, Hyundai, and 5.5. So it's not like it is not setting it, it's setting it, but it's not affecting my original data. So probably if I just come back here, I'll say this is a breakpoint, and instead of executing this application, instead of running this application, I'll debug this and I'll literally prove the fact that I'm literally setting the values. You see, this is I-10. This is I-10 is an object we just have created, and within this I-10 we are having let's say 10 I-10 Hyundai, and price is 5.5. So probably if you just explore here, you can see that these are the protected attributes. Protected means you are not able to access them outside the class. So you can see that. We'll talk about this in a second, but you see this I-10 Hyundai and 5.5, and you see that it's kind of setting the values, but it's not at all changing them. You see, it's not at all changing it. It's like still it is Hyundai, still it is 10, still it is 5.5. And guess what? If I print my original data, or rather if I just print the data, then probably I'm getting all my values. And when I say if I'm getting my all values, it's not the modified values. These are my original values, which means you are kind of, simply saying like the data, which is the data member, which is a kind of underscore underscore, that is considered as a private members. So how is it doing it? Now, before we see how is it doing it, first tell me, have you understood the concept? The concept here is I don't want anyone to modify my data without my consent. So basically, I'm making my data private. The private simply means here is like you just add double underscore and no one will be able to modify your data. There is a reason behind this, and there is a simple reason behind this. We'll explore that reason in a second. Let's see first a question, Vipin, you are asking. What if I define as underscore underscore model, but if we use the model only, it is going to change the scope? Yes, it is just going to change the scope because there is a reason. So Vipin, just hold your question, you will see that. Ketan underscore underscore at 38, 39 and 40. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Ketan, this is for you. You saw that, oh, this is underscore underscore, right? So let me just go back here and say underscore 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 and underscore underscore. Ketan, watch this. I know what you're saying. So you're expecting like now if I use underscore underscore private underscore 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 price underscore underscore model underscore underscore company, and if I change the values, it should change. But you see, haha, no, it is not. So probably it is still not at all changing the values. So probably this is the way you are kind of protecting your methods. So protecting, it simply means you're making them private. Private means you're not able to access them outside the class. So that is the way you can do it. I hope you can understand that. So when you are thinking about making it a kind of private in the sense you will not be able to access it outside the class. That's how we can get it. There is no keyword here like the other languages. In other languages, this is called as a private, and private simply means you can access it only within the class, not outside the class. See, probably you might be wondering how is it possible, because I still am able to access them. I'm still able to modify the values, but it's not changing the values internally. Why is it doing it? Check this out. I'll put this in comment for a minute. I'll put this in comment for a second, and then I'll come back and enable the dictionary representation of it. So I'll just come back here and say, hey, just show me the dictionary implementation of it. Watch what it shows. When I say run, probably you will see that, oh, sorry, I'll have to uncomment this. And when I say run, probably you will see that I have added here underscore underscore model. But did you see that? It has added underscore car underscore underscore model. Oh, that means underscore underscore model was my original data member. I decided, but internally it has changed this to underscore car underscore underscore model. Underscore underscore company is what I started last time, but here underscore underscore company, it has kind of added, it has added a kind of a prefix of underscore car, and then it has made that underscore car underscore underscore company. So probably if you are getting it, that simply means whenever you are talking about a kind of underscore underscore model, it's not underscore underscore model internally used. It's like underscore car underscore underscore model, underscore car underscore underscore company, underscore car underscore underscore price. And that's it. That is the way it is kind of doing the job. And that's the reason why if you are changing the price model company or underscore price underscore model underscore company, still it is not affecting it. It's not affecting it because the member name is not underscore model, or it's not model, it's underscore car underscore model. So this is a kind of name mangling. Absolutely, Ketan. This is a kind of name mangling, which is kind of changing the data members internally. So probably those who are coming from C++, they might have heard about something called as a name mangling. Here also, it is kind of doing the same thing, you know. So when you are talking about a kind of mangled name, mangled means name is changed. The original name I decided was something like underscore model underscore model underscore company underscore price. But now the new model here is kind of underscore car underscore model underscore car underscore company and underscore car underscore price. I hope you can understand. This name, original name was something, and the new name is kind of completely different. This feature is called as a name mangling, and with the name mangling, it handles the private members. Again, Python has simplified your life. I can understand that, because now you don't have to worry about using any keywords there like private, protected, public, and other things. So here you can directly make them a kind of protect a kind of private. I mean, in other languages it's called as a private. So again, there is no keyword here. It's just an kind of just an idea, in fact, or just a kind of a concept here. Underscore means the data members are private. I mean, though Python call it as a protected, it's for us it's a private. Private means you cannot make them accessible outside the class. As simple as that. Okay. Aisha, is it protected or private? Private from other languages perspective, in Python, they are also known as private or protected. I mean, I did not use the word right now protected because I know many of you are coming from other languages and you will get confused, because protected is something what you must have seen earlier in other languages with a different scope or with a different intention. So that is the reason I did not use it. Okay, so I'm calling them as a private for now, because this is a true private. Private means you cannot access them outside the class. That's what you meant by using underscore. Okay. Adesh, your question: is there any compulsion that underscore starting for members? Can we go like under model underscore? No, you can't. It's a kind of compulsion. You have to say underscore something in order to make them private, or in order to mangle the name of them. Okay. Nidhi, how do we tackle the problem of accidentally interchanging the values of model and company? No, you can't. I mean, there is no way you can do it in any other languages. So if you are doing it by mistake, for example, I wanted to do that for a company, that a company is changed, but if I set it to model, there is no way you can detect it. And it's not only in Python, you cannot do that in any other languages. Okay, unfortunately. Okay, Vipin got it. Only use setter getter to modify. Just give me a minute. We'll talk about that. Okay. Omkar, you are saying, but it's not even working. It's not working with car2.setAttr underscore price 59. Exactly. Now, when you use underscore, you will not be able to do that with setAttr and getAttr. Now, there is a limitation. Limitation in a sense, when we are using underscore, you cannot use a setAttr and getAttr. Then it's mandatory for you to use dot syntax. I know. So that is the way it's kind of having its own limitation. But Omkar, kuch paane ke liye kuch khona padta hai, you know. So basically, if you want to achieve the protection, if you want to achieve the private members, then you have to go for underscore. The moment you go for underscore, you will not be able to retrieve the value of them by using getAttr, and you will not be able to change the values by using setAttr. That is a kind of restriction Python has added. Can't say anything because this is how Python works. Okay. Okay. Next, Prashant, why it is underscore car? Where are you saying underscore car? This one you're talking about. This is a prefix Python is using, and why it is underscore car? Because car is nothing but my class name. So what does it do behind the scene? It uses underscore, the class name, and then it puts underscore something. So that is how it works. Prashant, I think you must have got the answer there. Okay. So if you go for person, then it is going to say underscore person underscore name underscore person underscore age, something sort of that. So that will solve the name mangling problem for every class. Okay. Tanya, your question. I'm confused why we took a self underscore underscore model, but the parameter in init method is still it's still method. Please elaborate once again. Okay, you are saying something like this here, right? Model, company, and price. Tanya, please try to understand one thing, that when you say model, company, and price, these are the parameters to the function. These are parameters to the method. We are calling this function as a method because now it is inside the class. These are parameters. You can literally say anything here, literally anything. And when I say anything, I can literally say anything. What matters here is whatever member or whatever value you are getting at this position, I just need to set it to my existing data member here. So basically, Tanya, if you are getting it, probably you can say that this is a parameter. You can have any parameter name, doesn't matter. But while adding the value of that parameter to your class object, then you are going to use a proper naming convention like self dot something something is equals to something. So that's how we can do it. Okay. So I think, Tanya, you must have got the answer now. Okay. So it doesn't make any sense to go for anything. I'll change it to model again. I hope, Tanya, are you okay with this? Okay. So that a self underscore model is important, that maps the parameter in init method. Absolutely. This is important. I mean, this is where we have to use underscore, not with these ones. I mean, these are kind of parameter names. You can have anything there. It doesn't matter whether you say model, underscore model, whatever it is. We don't care about these names. We do care about these parameters or these data members, because ultimately they are the ones which will get added on self in a sense on that object. And I'm not worried about these parameters because the parameter names can change. But once you decided to go for model, company, price, you have to use underscore and put them on self. So this is where it matters a lot, not the other side. So if you consider every single statement 18, 19, 20, you see that there is a equal to sign, and whatever comes on the left hand side is what important for us, because that is what we are going to add on self. Okay, hopefully, what's that? Omkar, I think you got the answer. It is getting, okay, so get it working with underscore car 69, fine, okay. Maybe you're talking about Shubham. So what is this? What if someone uses underscore car something values? Very good. I knew it. Someone will ask that question. And thanks for asking that question, by the way, Shubham. I know that when we are modifying the values with price or underscore price, underscore model, underscore company, it was not working, you know. So I now know what exactly Python is doing behind the scene, and I can inspect the data by using dict value or dict representation of it, a dictionary representation of it. If it is the case, I may say something like I10 dot, underscore car underscore, let's say model, because I know I already have seen that in dictionary. You see, here it is. I'm using the exact same name and I'm saying invalid data. I can come back here and say I10 dot underscore car, sorry, underscore car underscore company, which is equals to invalid company. So I can still do it. And if I say run, probably, oh, this time my data is kind of modified. What are you saying here? I mean, earlier you were saying like it's kind of a private, and then you all of a sudden you are saying, hey, now I can use underscore car underscore model and still changing the data. What's the point of making them private then? All the exercise we were doing here, it was just protecting my data, or I wanted to protect the data. But I know now if I use underscore dict underscore, I could see what are the default members it is using behind the scene. And by using these members, I could modify the data. What's the point of doing all this exercise then? Oh, Python is useless, No, it's not. It's not like that. I mean, I know anyone thinking about this will simply try to modify the data by using these members and it will work. But there is a big asterisk mark. Now, generally, when you're writing the program, in any language, doesn't matter. I mean, whether you are using Python or whether you're using any language, doesn't matter. Every language has some conventions and some compulsions. Conventions are those which you may or you may not follow. Compulsions are those you have to follow. For example, when you are in other languages and if you want to create a class, using or declaring a class is required with a keyword class. You cannot just skip that. Same is true in Python as well. So when you want to create a class, you have to declare it with the keyword class. That's a compulsion. When you are talking about the conventions in other languages, maybe following indentation is a convention. In Python, that convention is converted into compulsion. So here you have to follow the indentation. What I'm trying to show you here, or what I'm trying to mention here, every language has some conventions and compulsions. In Python, there are few conventions and there are few compulsions. In other languages, few conventions. In Python, they converted into compulsions, like indentation is one of the compulsions, which is kind of convention in other languages. Now, when you are in Python, and please listen to this very carefully. I'm going to repeat this a couple of times because I want you to, just understand the importance of it. When you are in Python, and if you are modifying, or sorry, if you are adding any attribute to your class with underscore underscore, we already have seen Python is modifying the member name with a prefix, underscore class name, underscore underscore the property name or the attribute name. Yeah, it does that. But if I know this and if I try to do it like this, it may change the data in the current version. Because see, ultimately my intention behind writing the program is to get something done. Not today. I want to get it done for next few years or next few next few duration till my user wants to use my application. In between, there will be different versions of language which will come and go. So probably right now we are using 3 dot something. So in this version, probably these people have decided to use this underscore car as a prefix to mangle your name. Maybe it's working. If I'm just trying to say that I10 underscore car underscore underscore model equals to this, or underscore car underscore underscore company equals to this, maybe it's working. And we already have seen it is working. It is working, fine. I'm okay with that. But it may not work in the upcoming version if Python decides to change the prefix to something else. So what I'm trying to say here is, if you are trying to say something like this, today this code will work. And if you're dependent on that, you might have implemented your logic on top of it. Everything will work in this work language and you will kind of bend the rules Python has said earlier. Python said use underscore underscore and your data will be considered as a private and you will not be able to modify. But you have bent the rule by just using the internal name. This is a kind of internal name you can think of, because mangled name is kind of internal name and it will be handled by language. Not only in case of Python, it happens in every language. So every language has its own scheme to mangle the name whenever you are going for maybe the different members in your class. So every language does that, like Python. The only difference is not other languages are so generous. They will talk about what they are doing internally. So Python is so generous. Python is saying, hey, I'm doing this. See, this is what I've used. This is what I've used. This is what I've used for your members. So Python just opens his mouth and say, hey, I'm doing this, something like that. If you are a developer and if you are doing something like this, just by using the internal representation of the data, if you are trying to modify it and if your logic is completely built on top of it, in the current version, it will work because we see that it's working. But who knows in the next upcoming versions if Python decides to change the prefix to something other than this. Okay, just for an example, I'm saying in the next version, if Python decides to change this model or maybe the prefix to underscore underscore car underscore underscore model, what will happen? So whatever code you have written, whatever thousands of line code you have written, which is based on that logic to change the data member by using underscore car underscore underscore model, probably this will fail in the upcoming version. So in the upcoming version, if it is not underscore car, if it is something like underscore underscore car underscore underscore model, wherever you are modifying the data with that particular member, it will fail. It will not change the data and your logic will fail and your program will start giving you a wrong output. Oh, so moral of the story here is, when you are doing it with the internal representation, it might work for that version, but it may not work in future. And your program will be kind of having a restricted lifetime for that particular version. So what is a good idea then? The good idea, or the you can say the convention again here, is to not use the internal representation of your members. So underscore underscore model is for me. underscore car underscore underscore model is for Python. One more time, underscore underscore company is for me, underscore car underscore underscore company is for Python. Last time, underscore underscore price is for me, underscore car underscore price is for Python. So you deal with your members, let Python deal with its own members. Don't interfere with what Python is doing internally. Otherwise, your program may not work in future. And who doesn't want to make your, who doesn't want to, just continue using the program for lifetime? Because if your user is going to use your program, user is going to pay you for lifetime. So if you are writing a program which is having a very short lifespan till the version you are using, you are ending up the user's contract. If user says the application was behaving earlier properly, now it started behaving oddly, it started giving some wrong values, in which case you will lose your contract, you will lose your customers. Other than the data in this world today, what is the most important thing people are looking for? Customers, So if you lose a customer, that simply means you're losing the business. Who wants to lose the business? No one, isn't it? And that's the reason it's recommended. It's kind of a convention or unwritten rule that don't interfere with what Python is doing internally. Don't write your logic based on a fact that this is the way Python is writing its internal representation. Again, long story short, don't use this. It might work today, tomorrow in this version, but it might not work when the next version of Python comes and if Python decides to change the prefix to something else. So don't take that risk. So I don't know who asked that question. I forgot that. Probably who's that? I think Ketan, you asked that, I guess. Whoever. Shubham, you are asking. Sorry, my bad. So Shubham, you are asking that. Can we not do it? Yes, we can. But again, it's not recommended because today it might work. Tomorrow or in the next version, it might not work. So the convention here, again, I'm talking about two things here, conventions and compulsions. In other languages, these are compulsions. In a sense, when you are saying private, you can't modify it outside the class. When you say it's a public, you can modify them in other languages outside the class. In other languages, these are compulsions. In Python, these are conventions. So get this right. I mean, I know we are just playing with the words right now, but this is how Python works. There are few compulsions from other languages converted into conventions in Python, and there are few conventions of Pythons which are compulsion in other languages. So every language has its own working style. This is a Python's working style. So in Python, there is no keyword like the other languages, but you have to follow them as conventions. Okay. So probably Shubham, you were asking that question. Can we not do it with underscore car underscore underscore model? Yes, we can. But my suggestion is don't do it because it might not work in future. Okay. Before we go for the other questions, can you guys please just give me a confirmation whether have you understood what I just said here about the conventions and the compulsions? Okay. So other languages may provide you the compulsory keywords with which you can achieve this as a compulsory stuff that you cannot do it, you can't do it, you can do it, whatever it is. But in Python, it is a convention. You may follow or you may not follow. If you follow, everything will work smoothly. But if you do not follow, you might end up having a wrong values. Okay. A simplest example, one more time, I know it's a little bit kind of repetition of it, but the simplest example is following traffic signals. in our country, it's a convention. In other countries, that's a compulsion. So in our country, so when I say following traffic signals is a kind of convention, I may follow it. I mean, when I follow it, I will not have any accident. But imagine there is no traffic police there. Being Indian, when I say there is no traffic police, I generally break the traffic rule and I just cross I cross the road and go without bothering about the others. So if I do it, it's not like every time I'll meet an accident, but it may happen. That's what you mean by the conventions and the compulsions. I hope, other than this, there is not a good example of it. So basically in India, it happens. In fact, following traffic signal is a kind of conventions. I wish I could do that as a compulsion, but being Indians, it's very hard to change the mindset. Anyways, whatever. I don't care about them right now, but I do care about the Python right now. So in Python, this is a convention, not a compulsion. So please, when you're writing a Python code, make sure that you're following the conventions. And if you follow your conventions, nothing will go wrong. But if you're not following the convention, it might not work. I'm not saying it will not work, but it might not work. That's what I just wanted to make sure here you are understanding it. Okay, Pranit, your question. According to the rule of naming identifiers, if we name our variables, say underscore car underscore price, and starting with underscore, then it will be confused with the data accessibility in this case. Absolutely. Now tomorrow, if you have your own members with this name underscore car underscore underscore model, then it might get confused, of course. But that's what I'm saying, Pranit. I know that when you're talking about this, and again, that's a convention. See how many conventions here we are following. When you are in a class, let's say car, again, this is not for only Python, this is for all the other languages as well. When you are in a class car, and when you say model, or when you say company, or when you say price, I know I'm dealing with a car class. So when I say price, car, price, model, and maybe a car, kind of a company, then I'm saying this is cars model, this is cars company, and this is cars price. So I'm already in the context of car. I don't have to say underscore car there. So that is a convention we have to follow. It's like in Marathi, there is something called as a pitambar. You don't say piwla pitambar because pitambar, it already includes the word pit. Pit means piwla, piwla means it's yellow. So you don't say piwla pitambar, you say only pitambar. That's how it is, in fact. Again, those Marathi people, they must have understood what I'm trying to say here. All I'm trying to say here is when you are in the context of car, you don't have to say underscore car underscore model because you are breaking the rule here. You already are in the context of car. Why are you saying the car underscore model? You see, it's a model, which is nothing but a car's model. Okay. Okay. So probably, yes, I think you are absolutely right. But this is how you have to consider it. Okay. So Pranit, I think you got your answer there. Okay. Now, quick question, Sunil. Parameters names are same for our understanding. Absolutely right. Parameter names are for our understanding, and the data members are for Python's understanding. Absolutely right. Tanya, please put yourself on public while asking the question. Yes, please, guys, please put yourself on the public channel so that the others can also read what question you are asking. Absolutely. Tanya, is there any final keyword in Python? Wait, we'll talk about it. Answer is no, but still we'll talk about it. Preeti, your question, but it does not make it all secure then. Of course, yes. And when you are using different languages, the same thing is going to happen there as well. Probably if you are coming from C++ and if you are saying your data is private, it's not at all private. You can use pointers and you can still modify them. Those who are coming from C++ and having a kind of C++ knowledge, they can understand this. Not everything here is a secure. So you say it is a secure, but still you can modify the data. Still you can hack the data. When it goes to memory, by default, everything is addressable. So you can if you can deal with the memory addresses. I mean, if you are a genius like hacker, and if you know how to read the memory's data by using the addresses, doesn't matter which language you are using, you still can hack any of the data. Okay. So yes, this is not at all, I mean, it's not pure secure like the other languages, but this is how it is. Sangram, so that's why we don't have the name variable starting with underscore in Python. Absolutely right. That's a reason why we mentioned that earlier. You got the point now. Preeti, if anyone hacks the changes the data, can't do anything. That's how it is. I mean, it's not only this language, it is possible in other languages as well. And that's the reason hackers exist. That's the reason hackers are there hacking the data. They are kind of exposing your data. You might have seen different scams out there. So they are still stealing millions of data, millions of dollars of from your accounts. And it happens because of these kind of flaws there, you know. Okay, that's a reason actually. Every language has a particular scope. So generally, Python is used for scripting most of the times. When you are doing it processing, there it is used. But when you are writing a very secure languages or a very secure program, let's say banking generally deals with the Java. I mean, generally I'm saying banking applications are generally written in Java because it's not only secure, it provides many different functionalities where the other languages are lacking, you know. So every language has got a kind of use cases. Example, like again, if you want to go for device driver development, you have to go for C. There is no other option for you because that is the one which is nearest to your hardware. So every language has some use cases to use. So if you are using Python for developing device driver, it will not work. It will not give you what you're looking for. Or if you start using C for web development, it might work, but it will literally so painful that you will stop even writing beyond your hello world program. It's very difficult. but yeah, it can be done, I'm saying. Okay, so probably you must have got the answer there, Preeti, I think. Vipin, your question, but what if someone knows to develop the product? I think Vipin, you must have got the answer now. Okay, good. Who's that? Chandrakant. So by knowing internal working of the Python, we can hack those applications made with the Python. No, it's not that easy, by the way. Chandrakant, I mean, though it seems like very easy, it's not. Just try it and you will see how difficult it is, you know. But anyway, just take it from granted. It's not as easy as you think here. This is something which is very simple because this is the code written by me. But when you go for the professional developers or professional development, this is not what you write the code. There you always follow the convention, okay? Rohit, yes sir, but curious about, did Python change its convention anytime from old version to current version? Not till now, but again, this is how maybe, I'm just saying that it might change it in the future. So you never guarantee it, okay? If it is not changed since last version, that does not mean it will not change in the future. So why should we take the risk? I mean, changing it by using underscore car underscore underscore, it's a risk. It might work, it might not work. So don't take any risk, just simply follow the conventions, everything will go good. Okay, true. Okay, next, Priti, any reason why Python exposed all the mangling when people could be changing the values? It's not like it is exposing, it's the way it is representing. I think you are not getting what I'm trying to say here. Python is not exposing anything. Python is just telling the fact that what it is doing internally. Again, generally people come to Python because they find the other languages very difficult to understand, especially like C and C++ because of their pointers and because of their advanced concepts. When you are in Python, everything is so simple. When you are learning Python as your first language, I bet you will find yourself in a good position because in Python, everything is simplified. Now, when you try to learn C or C++ as your first language, people generally start hitting the computer industry just because of the pointers and the pointer arithmetics and stuff like that. When you start your career with Python, everything will go smooth because Python has very simple concepts. So it says, just follow the convention, will take care of everything. So that's what it does. In other languages, you have to think about it. Oh, it's a private means we have to use a private keyword. If it is a protected means you have to use a protected keyword, something like this. So it makes your life so simple by not remembering so many compulsions, so many keywords there. That's the reason Python is a simple language, you know, that's how it is. Okay, probably I think it's better we can just go to the next one. Yes, very good. Very safe, I know. Just go. Okay, fine. Yes, okay, fine. Okay, so now we know that this is how we can write the car, our car class, and we decided to go for private members like model, company, price, and stuff like that. Now I'm just thinking about, like, this is not the way to modify the data. Fine, okay. This is not the way to modify the data like this way. No, fine. Let me comment this as well. Then how do I do it? Because it's not like if I use a car class like I10, if I use a car object like I10, and if I said Hyundai and 5.5, that does not mean the price will stay at 5.5 for rest of my life. Because of the inflation, because of the other reasons, the price may vary, the price may increase, for example, or because of the offer, the price may reduce. In which case, I want to change the price. How do I do it then? I tried to do it by using a couple of ways. It didn't work. I mean, I tried by saying something like I10 dot price. Price is, let's say because of the inflation, it must have got to 6.5, for example. So it didn't work. We already have seen this. I tried it with double underscore underscore price underscore underscore something like this. And then it didn't work either. So I tried with this, I hope, and it worked finally. But I said, don't do it. I mean, using this, it's working fine. But you know what? It's not recommended to go with something like in this context by using something like this. So probably just for your information, this is not working like this. Maybe this is not working as well. Don't do it that way. And again, this is working, but it's not recommended. So basically, when you are doing something like this, then this is not recommended. It might work today, it might not work tomorrow. So it's not recommended. So if it is the case, like it's not working, then how can I change the data? Because I do want to change the data because of the valid reasons. Earlier it was 5.5. Today it's become, let's say, 6.5. I want to change the data. I want to change the price. How do I do it? To do this, I'm going to go to the next version of it. Let me just copy this, come back to the next version right here. This is the page 4, for example, and there we are. Here we want to modify the data. Let's see how do we do it. I'm going to create a simple class object again. This time I'll say x5 probably, which is equals to again a car class object, which is going to be a model, that's x5. The company is BMW, and the price, I don't know, I'll just keep it 0, you know. So maybe I'll say x5.printinfo, and this is going to show me the data, like model is x5, company is BMW, and price is 0 lakhs. 0 lakhs doesn't make any sense. Maybe to start with it, I didn't know the price, so I used a 0, but maybe I inquired in somewhere showrooms, and then I got to know that, okay, the price is almost like 39.5, for example. So how do I change the data? If I try to say something like x5 dot, let's say price, which is equals to 39.5 in that case, it is not going to change the data. We saw that. So if it is not going to change in this way, then how do I do it? To do this, we have to provide some methods. So probably I'm going to come back here and we'll add some methods that will allow us to do two things. One, it will allow us to set the value, and it allows us to get the value of those data members. So let us add those two methods here. First method, I'm going to say as a set price. I'll get a price here, I'll get the price here as a temporary or as a parameter to that function. And then I can say self dot underscore underscore price is equals to price. I hope you see what am I doing here. So I'm saying a set price is equals to this price. I mean, set price is the method. I'm taking the price as an input parameter, and whatever price I'm getting here as an input value, I'm setting it to my self underscore underscore price. Doing the same thing for other two. So maybe I'll say set company, which is equal, set company, which is having a parameter like company. And then we can say self underscore underscore company is equals to company. Again, one more time, set underscore price. Oh, price is already done. Model, for example, that's the only thing which is remaining, comma model. And again, self underscore underscore model is equals to model. So basically, when you are trying to write these methods with which you are setting the values, these type of methods are called as setters. So these are called as the setters, or these methods are also called as mutators. So all these methods are going to mutate your object, and that's the reason these are called as mutator. So probably setters or mutators, and those are going to mutate or change the value of your attributes. Okay, let me give it a try and see if it really works. So I want to change the price. Maybe to start with it, we'll see the 0 there, and then maybe I inquired in other showrooms, and I got to know that the price is almost like 39.5. So I'm going to call that method set price, and here I can say 39.5, something like this. And again, I'm going to go back and call that same method one more time, print info. So now you see, earlier I was having the price equals to 0, but now the price is changed to 39.5. This is what I was looking for, right? So I was not able to modify my price earlier because we made that as a private, but now with the help of another set of methods called as the setter methods, now we can modify the price, not only price, we can also modify the company, the model, and everything there. Okay. So might be the case like using this, I can also set some invalid values. So probably I can set, instead of saying 39.5, if I say minus 39.5, which is something like I go to company, I go to that showroom, and if I want to purchase an X5, the BMW is going to pay me 39.5 lakhs to purchase their car. It means like this, right? Which is invalid again, but still it is accepting the fact that, yeah, minus 39 is a valid value. I couldn't have solved this problem if I wasn't having this particular method, but thank God I'm having this method which is giving me the price. So before setting the price, I can check now if the price is kind of greater than 0, then only set it. Otherwise, simply put a message saying this is invalid price. You see, now I can control it. How you want to control it, it's up to you. You decide what is the criteria you want to check there before you set your new value. But this is now in your control. So now if I say run, you see, though I'm setting an invalid value, see here, it says, no, 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 you cannot change this price because this is invalid price. So still my price is original 0.0. So that simply means now the control is in your hands. I mean, with this, adding as many conditions as I can make it very secure. So it's up to me actually what and how rules I want to apply there. But given the fact that you have some method, the control is with you. So you can do it as per your requirement. That is important, which wasn't the case when I was not having that method. When I was dealing with those members directly, I was exposing them to the user. So now I have the control, and then I can control it as per my requirement. So later on, not today, but later on, I'll show you how to detect the data type and see whether user is setting something other than a number. Then we should detect it, and then we should we should not set the new value in that context, or we should raise an exception. We'll see that later. But right now, you see how to deal with it. Having a method will give you a control, and that control has to be used by you as per your requirement, as per your logic. Vipin, your question, can we have a separate class to define them like the model in Java? Yeah, it depends on you how you want to do it. Rather, this is a kind of a model class. Okay. So Vipin, this is a model class rather. I'll talk about a few more type of classes or few more conventions to be used here when we go to some other complex examples. Right now, we are just in the beginning stages. So probably you can think of it as a model class, which is modeling a car. Okay. Jenica, your question is is set the method, the name compulsion. Again, in Python, this is a convention, but the convention that if you're following, anyone can understand that to change the price, there is a method called a set price. To change the company, there is a method called a set company. To change the model, there is a method called a set model. When you are developing a Python, and if you are kind of using someone other's code, then probably you will have some assumptions. The assumptions, one of the assumptions here is setter methods will start with the set. When I say setter methods will start with the set, that simply means all the setter methods will say set underscore the attribute name. This is something that will fit in your brain, and whenever you are using Python, you will try to use it in one of the other ways, and that's the reason why we are following the convention. Again, this is a convention. More important, there is a method which is changing an attribute value, which is called as a setter. It might start with set or not, that's a different story, but conventionally, this is a set. Janika, I think you must have got the answer here. This is not a compulsion, this is a convention to follow. Okay. Okay. Rajendra, your question. Is there any some disturbance in between? Please mute all. Was it? I don't know. I didn't see that. Just a second. I'm on mute right now. So let me just go back and say mute all. Sorry. Okay. So no one. It's okay. It must have happened accidentally. It happens, you know. It's okay. Okay. Any, any questions so far? No, I don't think so. Fine. So if you don't have any question, let us continue further and see like what exactly the next point is there. So I set the value, I set the value to minus 39.5. It didn't work because it's invalid value. Let me set it correct value, positive value. Let me try to run this code. And yeah, I saw that it is now modifying my values to 39.5. That simply means it works. Okay. You must have seen that we are having a method called as a print info, which is kind of printing all the data members there. I mean, printing every single thing, model, company, price, every single thing there. But what if I don't want to print the model? I don't want to print the company. I just want to check the price. I just want to get the price value, because see, I just modified the price value. So there is no point of checking the model and the company, because I know I didn't change them. So if I haven't changed them, that means the values will be original values. There is no point of again checking them whether they are modified or not. In which case, I just want to get the price value and print that on console. How do I do it? There is no way I can do that, because earlier I could have done it by saying maybe the price is equals to something like what is that, x5 dot price. I could have done that this way, but now this is not working. It is going to crash my application and will say that, hey, price does not exist. if I go back and say use my underscore underscore, still it is not going to work because underscore underscore price is not there. Huh. It might work. I mean, underscore car underscore price underscore underscore price might work, but again, this is not recommended. You say it's printing the price, but this is not recommended, right? So if this is not recommended, then how should I get the price? That's what I'm trying to show you here. You see, we added the setters to set value of an attribute. Similarly, we should add other type of method called as getters. These are also called as inspector methods. So inspectors. I'm going to say something like a get price, which is going to return the value like self dot underscore underscore price. It's going to return the value of that price attribute. Same thing is true for others. Maybe I'll say get, let's say model, which is going to return, sorry, my bad, return self underscore underscore model, you know, as simple as that. And one more time, get underscore, get underscore, what am I missing? Company. So this is the company, and I'll say return self underscore underscore company, as simple as that. Generally, when you are writing a class, you will have these type of methods. I think you must have noticed it now. We are having one initializer. There will be only one initializer, by the way. Second, you can have some getters. Third, you can have some setters. And fourth, you can have some facilitators or utility functions. So now you see our class is taking its shape. Now my class is having few methods and it makes sense. I mean, all of this, whatever we are saying right now, it started making sense because now we can initialize an object, we can get the properties, property values, we can change the attribute values as per our requirement. We can also perform some utility functions on that. So everything started making sense. Now, if I want to get the price, I can use something like the get method. So I can say, hey, just give me the get method, get price. And you see, it is now going to give you only price. It's not going to give you the model. It's not going to give you something like company. It's just going to give you the price. Just on a safer side, I want to make sure that I'm getting all the values. So individually, I'm trying to print them here by saying xpy.get model. And the same thing, I'm going to do it again by saying this is company. I can get it by saying xpy.get company, you know, as simple as that. So let me run my code again, and you see that it's working fine. So I can individually get the values by using those getter methods. So this is the way we can write the setters and the getters. I hope this is how we can modify the things, or we can, you know, just get the values of them. So this is how we can do it. Okay. Please check the set price. Why? I think that is working fine, isn't it? Set price, we are checking the price is greater than 0. If otherwise price is equals to set, and otherwise print is equals to y. What is wrong with it, Sunil? Can you just tell me? You're asking me to check this. I checked it, but otherwise. Okay, you're saying else is missing. Doesn't matter. In this case, I don't need else. I don't need else, because see, if I want to set the price only when the price is greater than 0, otherwise I don't want to do anything. You know, it's not required. It's not missing. It's not required. If it is required, then I would have said else, and I would have set the value of it to something else. But I don't want to modify the original value if the price is less than 0. And that's the reason why I'm not using else here. Okay. So Sunil or the Rohit, and so I think you are talking about it is missing, but it's not missing. It's not used here. It's not required here. Okay. Okay, Prashant, is it possible to set a single consolidated setter method? Yeah, you can. So probably you can write one method to get the new values of model, company, and price, but this is not recommended. Again, there are, I mean, right now the class we are using here is very simple. I mean, it's hardly having 3 members, but imagine when you go for the real code, there are 50 to 60 such members minimum, I'm saying, in which case it's very difficult for you to set multiple variables value or multiple class members value. So it's not recommended to go for writing setter with multiple values or consolidated setter method. Okay, that's the reason why we are doing it. It's again convention to be followed. Nidhi, your question, can we combine the setters to everything at the same time? Nidhi, I think you must have got the answer. I just answered that question. Rohit, 39.5 also printing invalid price. How is it? Check this, I'm setting it here, 39.5, and yes, I'm getting the new value here as a 39.5. Really? It's printing the invalid price. How come? Where? Price info, set price, but the price is changing it to 39.5. How is it printing it here? Oh, I'm so simple. Yes, yes, yes. Sorry, sorry. My bad, guys. I should have said else point here. Yes, it's my bad. I didn't see that what you are saying. Absolutely. Rohit, I take my words back. And again, Sunil, I'll take my words back. Absolutely. Else is required here. I'm so stupid. I should have said print with print print message in else. I didn't realize that, you know. I was paying attention to the questions and this simultaneously. So sad. I'm so sorry for that. Apologize for that. So when I said this, now it is not going to print that invalid price. Absolutely right. How come I didn't see it? But anyways, it happens. Being a human, I'm allowed to make some mistakes, you know. Anyways, jokes apart, yes, else is required here. Absolutely. Okay. No problem. Okay, so probably now we can say, yes, this is a kind of data that we are now able to get individually. So I'm individually can get the price value, model value, and the company value. And I can individually change the values as per my requirement, which can be done by using the setter methods. So probably if I am not mistaken, let me just go back to your so-called notes. Do I have it somewhere? No, I'll have to go back here. This is Sunbeam 20, I'm sorry, it's 2020. We are in workshop mode. We are in Python 4. We are in notes, for example, and I think this is what I mentioned yesterday. Did I not mention it yesterday? Then when did I mention? Did I not save the diagram? Okay, fine. If it is not, I'll do it right away. I thought maybe I mentioned it yesterday, but I didn't draw any so-called diagram. So this is for you then. So probably I'm going to say that this is a function. Did I not save it really? I think I did. Can you remind me, guys, whether I've saved or not? I mean, did I not talk about the type of methods? I think I did, right? Not able to recall it. Okay. Anyways, if not, then I can do it quickly. So I'm going to call it as functions very quickly. I hope I mentioned it, but somehow I'm not able to recall it. Anyways, it's not going to be a big deal. So probably it is going to be very simple. It was yesterday only. Exactly. It was in Py file. Okay, fine. It's okay. Anyways, let's do it very quickly and we'll see like what different type of functions and other things are available here. So this is something called as a global function. Sorry. This is something called as a global function, or it is also called as a naked function. So naked function, or it is also called as a non-OOP function. Sorry, non-OOP function. All of these things simply means the functions which are written outside the class. This is something which I mentioned hopefully yesterday. If not, you can do it right away. There is another type of function which is called as a method, or it's also called as a OOP function. Okay, I mentioned this, but it's okay. It doesn't matter. It will take hardly a minute for us to draw the diagram. So it's okay. So this is the way we can say there is a method of type OOP function, and there is a function of type global function. Global means all of them which are written outside the class, and OOP methods or methods are simply those functions which are written inside the class. As simple as this. But when you talk about something like OOP functions, there are different types of them. That's what I mentioned yesterday. If not, look at this here. There is something called as initializer. We already have seen it. Then there is something called as a setter. Today we already have seen that. There is something called as the getter. We also have seen that today. And one more, something like facilitator, or it's also called as a utility function. And we already have seen that as well. And the last one is something called as a deinitializer. So there is a deinitializer which is going to deinitialize your object. So this is something which we have to see, but not today. We'll see that some other day, maybe tomorrow, after tomorrow, we'll see that. But today I just want to just conclude that this is what we have done: initializer, getter, setter, facilitator. Deinitializer will be a kind of required in the next example when we go for a little bit complex example than this. So right now it's not required. We'll take care of it later. Now, before I forget, let me save this. Otherwise, I might forget like yesterday. Today is what? September 17, I guess. Yeah, September 17, exactly. Okay, so I can just come back here and mark this as done, so you can understand where we are right now. So we have done this, we have done that, we have done this, we have done this as well. So only thing which is remaining is deinitializer, and yeah, we'll see that later. Okay, so I'm assuming that you already have got this, and if you have, then probably I want you to do a small exercise right away so that we'll see whether there is something missing or do I need to repeat something. So let us create, let's do it together. Let us create a class called as person. This is what I'm looking for. I want to have an attribute called as a name, address, email, and a phone number. And I want to have the methods like a print info, which will print the information about that entire person, setters for all, getters for all. Next one is can vote, because I need an age as well, can vote. That's it. So this is what I want to do it. Now, please make sure that when you are adding a setter, this is the rule that you have to follow. Age must be within, let's say, say 0 to 60. 0, it's okay. I will say 20 to 60. Again, I'm just thinking about a criteria where we are filling an information about an employee. So 20 to 60 is a valid range. So this is what my requirement is. So I should not allow any other age than this, you know. So see if you can do it very quickly and tell me if you can. If not, or if you're facing any problem, tell me again. I'll do it one more time if you want me to do it. Let's wait for a minute or two. Let's see if anyone is doing it. So based on whatever we have discussed earlier, let us create this class. Class name, class person, name, address, email, phone number, age. I think it's better we can have one more initializer. My bad, I should have mentioned it. Initializer. That initializer will get all the members, name, address, email, phone number, age. And we'll have the other methods as well. Print info, setter, getter, can vote. And if you want, you can add others as well. I'm assuming that you are doing it. I'll wait for a minute and then we'll do it together, so that you will get an idea. Like if you have done all of these things on a car class, how can we do the same thing on person class? So tomorrow we can have a kind of reusing different classes by using two functionalities, aggregation and inheritance. We'll talk about that. Very good. So simple. Very good. Someone already has done that. Oh, you are using car class. Okay. Vipin, what is wrong with it? Or you accidentally must have, oh, it's okay. I can understand that. You must have accidentally pasted it here. It's okay. You can reuse that class and you can just change the name here and there, and probably you can do it. Okay. By the way, expect one assignment today with all of these things we have seen so far, with object-oriented Python. Anyone done? You're still doing it? Okay, if you're still doing it, no big deal. I'll show you anyways. So hopefully we can at least finish the entire program. So we are supposed to create a class person. So let us say this is the person class. Again, it's a good idea to have a doc string here. So right now I'll just say this is a person class, having those members and other things, okay? Now I need to add that name, address, email, and phone number. So probably you can start creating your initializer method, underscore, underscore, init, underscore, underscore, which is going to have a name, an address, an email, a phone, and an age. That's it. Now, by default, I said that you have to add a setters and getter. That means by default, we have to make all the members private. You know how to do it now. So underscore underscore name is equals to name. Self dot underscore underscore address is equals to an address. This is the way we can do it. Self dot underscore underscore age is equals to age. Self dot underscore underscore phone is equals to phone. Self dot underscore underscore email is equals to email. Sequence doesn't matter. You can set it in any sequence. That really doesn't make any difference. Okay, so I'm done with the initializer. I think we need to add print info, setters and getters as well. Not a big deal. We'll say that this is initializer. We'll add the setters first, then getters, and then facilitators. Okay, def set underscore name, which is going to be accepting a name, and all we have to say here is self underscore underscore name is equals to name, as simple as that. Next, set, what's that, address, I guess, address, which is equals to, which is getting a address as a parameter, and say this is underscore underscore address is equals to address. Same thing again, def, sorry, my bad, def set underscore email, which is going to get an email, and we'll set it to self underscore underscore email. That's it, which is equals to email. Next, again, def set phone number, which is going to get the phone number, and we'll say that self dot underscore underscore phone, which is equals to phone. And finally, set age. So def set age, which is going to take an age parameter, and probably we'll set it to underscore underscore age is equals to age. That's age. That's it. Set of setters. So bunch of setter methods. They are working now. I mean, they are added now. So now we'll have to add the counter methods. So setters counter methods are getters. So maybe we can do it quickly by saying def get name, which is going to be very simple. All we are going to say here is like return self dot underscore underscore name. Similarly, get address, which is equals to, or which is going to return self dot underscore underscore address. Similarly, we are going to say get, what am I missing? Email. So now we are going to say self underscore underscore email. Next, get phone number. That's fine. Sorry, my bad. This is get phone number. Return self underscore underscore phone. And the last one is the age. So def get underscore age, which is going to do the same job, returning self underscore underscore age. That's it. Okay. Now we are done with initializer. We are done with setters. We are done with getters. Now what? Now I think we have to go for the last one, the facilitators. I think it seems like we have to add a print info, maybe the can vote. So both of them are both of them are facilitators. So let us add a print info first, which is going to be very simple. All we are going to do here is just go back and get all the values and put them on console. So see if it is possible. Of course it is. So this is the name. I can get it by saying underscore underscore name. Again, print. What's next? I think address. So address is equals to underscore underscore address. Again, finally, this is, no, not finally, there are a couple of them. Email, which is equals to self underscore underscore email. And finally, no, again, since there are two more. One more is a phone number. Yeah, I can see that there. This is the self dot underscore underscore phone number. And finally, this is an age. So age is equals to self underscore underscore age. That's it. We are done. Finally, we have to add one more method that is going to be a can vote. So can vote is the one where we want to check, as usual, the age. So self dot underscore underscore age, which is equals to, or which is greater than or equals to 18. Then we will say, yes, the person is eligible for voting. So right here, I'll say a person is eligible for voting by saying underscore underscore name is eligible for voting, for example, and else no otherwise. So if I just go back here, I'll say this person is not eligible for voting. Okay, we are done. But I think there is one more line I need to read. It says age must be within 20 and 60. That simply means when we are setting the age value somewhere here, then we should not set it blindly, because user might set 0, user might set 100, user might set -1, which is not a valid age. So which means here we want to make sure that the age we are getting is fitting within that particular range. So how do we do this? We'll check if age is greater than 20 and age is less than 60, then and only then we'll be able to do this. Actually, age is greater than or equals to 20 because 20 should be included. Less than or equals to 60 because 60 needs to be included. Okay. So this is how we can do it. And else, this time I'll not make any mistake. And this time I'll say this is going to be invalid age. So basically, I'll let the user know that, hey, whatever you have entered is not valid if it is not fitting that range 20 to 60, you know. So that is how we can do it. Okay, Rohit. What if I'm using a consolidated setter method, but I need to change the value of only one attribute outside the class without changing the value of the other attributes? You can't do it because that's a disadvantage of using consolidated setter method. That's the reason why I said, Rohit, it's not a good idea to provide one, because you are having many variables or many data members and it doesn't make any sense to modify them if you just want to modify only one. That's the reason why it is a good idea to have setters and getters for individual attributes, not to be considered as a consolidated one. Okay, so hopefully you must have got the concept now. Okay. Okay, I think we are done. We are kind of ready with our class. Just give it a shot and see if it is working. So probably I'm going to say here P1 is equals to person. Person is going to have all the data members, like person 1 is the name, Pune is an address, sorry, Pune is an address, email, that's person 1, sorry, person1@test.com is an email address, the phone number is +91 blah blah blah, and the age is, let's say, 30 for example. So I can say p1.printinfo just to make sure that we are getting all the values. And if we are, let me check p1.can vote if the person is eligible for voting. Oh, look at that. I got all the members without fail. And I also can see the person is eligible for voting. Very nice. Okay, now just before printing the data, I want to make sure that our set logic is working. So if I come back here and say set age to, let's say, 15. So if I set it to 15, I know 15 is not a valid age. So if I try to change it, you see, I'm going to get an error saying, say, hey, this is invalid age. You can't change it. But you see, the original value is still intact. Means if the age is not fitting in that range, 20 to 16, the age value will not be changed. That's what we are saying. Okay, so that's how we can do it. In any everyone within the vote can be between the 20 to 60. Absolutely, I know that. This is just the logic. In fact, it's not like we are doing a very very useful class. This class is for dummy implementation of it. So I can understand if we already have said 20 to 60 all the time, we are going to get the answer as yes. It's okay. I just want you to add some logic to make a utility function. Okay, so that you will see like how to add a utility function, how to add setter function, how to add getter functions, initializer, something like it. Okay. Okay, so guys, I think you must have got the concept now. So probably you can see how to add a class, how to add all the methods inside the class of different types. And probably we already have seen now 4 out of 5: initializer, setter, getter, facilitator. The only one thing which is missing right now in this example is the deinitializer. But unless we know the scenario where the deinitializer has to be used, there's no point of talking about it. So better we'll do that tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll talk about something called as a reusability. And just give me a second, guys. I want to see whether I've mentioned it or not. I must have. Okay, this is not for you. This is for the other guys. This is Angular, not for you. Where we are in Python, right? So Python, here it is. Okay, so if you just go back here, okay, I already have mentioned it here. That's good. So this is the initializer. Deinitializer we are going to see tomorrow. Setter, we already have seen it here. Getter, we already have seen it. Facilitators, we already have seen it. Access specifier, I talked about that. Public and private today. Protected, we'll see that next time. Code reuse is what we are going to see tomorrow. So we are going to start with association and inheritance. We'll see how much we can finish tomorrow. Okay, So this is how we are going to do tomorrow. I'm going to add few diagrams here if possible today, or if we'll do it tomorrow in the class itself. Fine, no problem. Okay, who's that? Vipin, help me. What? I want to join the AWS course. I'm a student. Is that a course for me? Vipin, put that question on my WhatsApp. I'll answer it there. Okay, it's not a good idea to discuss it here. So put that question on my WhatsApp. I'll answer it there. Adesh, don't you think that we have to remember the order of parameters while passing the arguments? Of course we need to, and that's what we are doing it here. Can you see that here? So probably when you are passing the parameter name, when you are passing the values, then we should remember it. And the good thing here, because you are in PyCharm, you see, PyCharm will always tell you that you have to pass name, address, email, phone number, and age there. So yeah, that is how we have to do it. Okay, it's very important. And again, if you don't remember the order, you are in Python, so you can say something like name is equals to this, or maybe something like an address is equals to this, or maybe email is equals to this, or the phone number is equals to this, and so on and so forth. So this is something that you can always do. It's all up to you, whether you want to do it in this way or that way. Okay. So yes, Adesh, that is required, and that is how we are doing it. Rohit, in real-time scenario, if we have hundreds of attributes, then are we going to create hundreds of setter methods? Yes, you have to. Is there any shortcut? Yes, there is. I'll talk about it tomorrow, because if I show you today, then I don't think you will ever write that setter or getter method on your own. Just write it today by taking some pains. Tomorrow I'll make your life a little bit easier. Okay, no problem. Okay, so I think it's okay. We can call it a day today. We'll continue tomorrow with the next point. If you get a chance, just take a look at what the association and what inheritance means. It will kind of give you a kind of an idea about this tomorrow. It'll be very easy for you to understand tomorrow's concept. Okay, so not a big deal. Fine. Okay, guys, I think it's better we can call it a day. We'll start the next point tomorrow. So have a very great day ahead, and I'll see you tomorrow exactly at 8 o'clock. Okay, by that time, see you. Bye-bye.